Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy and I just now went and saw Fantastic Four First Steps and I really wanted to share my thoughts with you. So I didn't even realize what the title First Steps was referring to until I got out of this film. And the reason why is because I tried to go in blind. It seemed like a teaser trailer, but I stayed away from reviews so that I could offer you an authentic take on the movie. This version of Fantastic Four was directed by Matt Shakman. If you're an MCU fan, you're gonna recognize this guy because he was the director of all of the WandaVision series. He also did some episodes of Game of Thrones that I really like The Spoils of War. I'm so excited that even though he's not a filmmaker that had like a lot of name recognition outside of Marvel, that he was still able to bring something that didn't feel totally studio mandated. It was unique, it was fun, it had a completely different aesthetic and sensibility than a lot of recent superhero movies, and I really enjoyed it for that reason. The movie takes place on Earth 818, I think. Technology has advanced differently there. It's almost as if this is the retro-futuristic world envisioned by artists like Sid Mead, whose work is really iconic in movies, but this retro-futurism style predates that. It's something that was really popular in the 1960s. It's really iconic stuff. To people of a certain age, it feels kind of like you're going to Tomorrowland at the Magic Kingdom. And in a lot of ways, it is akin to what we saw in early episodes of WandaVision. You know, it's funny, when I watch a series like Stranger Things that takes place in the 80s and uses a lot of that like music and iconography from that era, I get the warm and fuzzies on the inside. You know, I was a young kid in the 1980s. I would imagine Marvel's target demo is like from 10 to maybe 50. I don't know how many people are like nostalgic for that actual era, but I do enjoy it because it makes this movie feel unique. What I also like about it is that because it takes place on Earth 818, it's singular. Like they're the only superheroes on this version of Earth. And that's just, it's nice and it's freeing. And it's been such a long time since we could enjoy a Marvel movie that was unburdened by what has been. So in this story, the Fantastic Four are established heroes, and they're the only heroes on this version of Earth. The origin story is handled really tidily through a little bit of exposition delivered by a talk show host that basically catches the audience up on why they are the way that they are. Earth owes them a debt of gratitude. They've already saved the day on multiple occasions, to the point that they're like beacons of hope, these heroes, because they've proven themselves to be. Sue and Reed have been trying for some time to have a baby, when all of a sudden, miraculously, she has a positive pregnancy test. Well, now the Fantastic Four are welcoming a new member, and they're trying to figure out how to balance a domesticated life with the life of these larger-than-life superheroes. Reed is portrayed by Pedro Pascal, Sue by Vanessa Kirby, Johnny by Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Bachrach plays Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. And this is like the fourth version of a Fantastic Four movie, and I personally didn't think you could make these characters work on the big screen. I was never a big Fantastic Four fan in the first place, so maybe that's where my cynicism came from, but after 3 consecutive failed attempts and me just not being able to get over how goofy I think Reed's powers have to look cinematically just because of what they are, I had completely written it off. Like, there's no way that you can do it. However, I am happy to be wrong because I think Fantastic Four First Steps nails the Fantastic Four, and I came away from this movie getting it and understanding what it is that people enjoy so much about these characters in the first place. I want to give a shout out to our friend Alex Hyde-White. He was Reed Richards in the 1994 Corman version, and he gets a cameo in this. I was on his Facebook a couple days ago and saw some red carpet pictures, and I was like, good for you, man. He got invited to the premiere. But no, he's actually got lines in the movie. So congratulations, Alex. That was super cool to see.
But he asked too high a price.
Well, what does he want?
What did he ask?
I was a little worried about the Pedro Pascal casting, and not because I don't think he looks like Reed Richards. I don't care about any of that, but just because he's cast in everything, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to separate my perception of Pedro Pascal and buy into him as Reed Richards. But he does something specific with his performance here, and I think it really works, and he's good. And the reason why he gets cast is because he's super talented. Reed is like one of the smartest people in the world. but he's so fixated on like kind of risk analysis and always so focused on how things could go wrong that it tends to rob him of joy. Sue is his emotional center. She grounds him. She's like a beacon of empathy, and the fact that they're trying to navigate how they're going to deal with having this child who could be different because of the fact that they were both exposed to this cosmic rays that made them superpowered. There's the anxiety, but then also like the dedication that they're gonna make it work no matter what. And that's kind of the emotional center of this movie. Joseph Quinn as Johnny, I wasn't in love with the fact that they put him in contacts and dyed his hair. That said, when you're watching the movie, I didn't even notice, like it didn't feel weird or out of place or anything like that. I like his characterization. He's obviously a little bit of a ladies' man. He's a little bit snarky. He's got a fun back and forth with Ben, but ultimately he's a really committed member of this family who's willing to make sacrifices. And then Ebon Moss-Bachrach, I'm a huge fan of the bear. I was excited to see his portrayal of Ben Grimm, even though you don't see a lot of him on screen. I just thought he was gonna bring something special to the role, and I think he really did. He's a teddy bear. There's a real kindness within the character that I think shines through, even though him and Johnny are kind of always at each other's throats, which I imagine is, you know, true to the comics or maybe the cartoons. I don't exactly know, because I was never a big fan of these characters. In fact, I didn't think you could make the Fantastic Four work on the big screen because I think Reed Richards' powers are kind of goofy looking. And they are kind of goofy looking, and they're kind of goofy looking in this movie, but I think they make it work well despite that, because the most important thing is that you care about the characters, that you have some connection to them as humans, and the movie does a really good job of making them all feel human. It's really about the emotional bond between these characters, and that's something that's conveyed really well. They've been able to overcome many things throughout their history, but they were not anticipating the arrival of the Herald. This is the Silver Surfer, played by Julie Garner, and she comes to tell Earth that basically, you guys, just enjoy your next couple days here, spend it with your loved ones, hope you have a good time, because Galactus is gonna come and just devour your whole world. And they're like, what? How can he eat the whole Earth? We gotta go get to the bottom of this. So they travel to go negotiate with Galactus. Hey, please don't come eat our planet. We're gonna fight you. Galactus says, look, if you are willing to give me your child, who is gonna take over in this succession and be the next world eater, I'll let Earth go free. And that's too high of a price for them to pay, which kind of leads the public to potentially turning on them. It starts some conflict, despite the fact that we've seen a lot of like cosmic stuff in Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers movies. There's something about this that just feels different. It kind of has this majesty and this awe of like early space exploration. That's a vibe that I kept getting throughout it that I really enjoyed. Where this movie shines, I think, is in that it is distinct and it is self-contained. There's some shots that take place in outer space, in particular one between Johnny and the Silver Surfer when he first makes contact with her, that I thought was incredible looking. Some of the stuff when they're traveling through like wormholes or black holes or whatever was really, really cool looking. Michael Giacchino's score is featured prominently in the trailers and prominently in the movie. And I get it, it's kitschy. I think it works in the world that is created here, but it's not the kind of score that really got my heart pumping like some of the best scores do, you know? It's not rousing in the same way, even though thematically I can appreciate that it's hearkening to a different thing. It just happens to be a thing that I never had much of a connection to. But my biggest takeaway is this is a movie about family, and in particular about the anxieties of parenthood and how you don't really know how your child is going to turn out, but ultimately you try to do the best you can. And it's about people coming together, which I really liked. It's incredible to look at. Has a heart. I feel like they nailed the chemistry between the cast and make these all characters that we can root for and that we care about. And for all those reasons, I'm giving Fantastic Four First Steps a fantastic 4 out of 5. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours. If you enjoyed this review, let me know. If you do want to hear my thoughts on it, like in a spoiler way, let me know that, and maybe I'll be able to work that into the schedule. Thank you so much for coming by. Until next time, peace.